last week I broke down a song called Goodie Bag by Still Woozy, who's completely new to me. Now my clip, it's blowing up. Let me see, I've got, what are we at? There's got to be like 8 comments on this thing. It's going crazy. And one of those comments was from Jackson Brower, who says I should work out window. So that's what I've done. Cool song, very cool song. Before we get into this thing, please give me a like and a subscribe so I can find the time and get the motivation to keep making these things. Thanks everyone. Let's do this. Let me break it down in a few very easy steps. Let's get to this. It's a 3-chord wonder. So we're talking an E minor 7, a B7, and a C major 7. 2 beats of E minor 7, 2 beats of B7, and then 4 beats of C major 7. So that's the basis of it. So you could cover the song just like that. E minor, B7, C major 7. Sounds pretty damn close. You get away with it. But you know what we all want to know is how to do those funky little cool little licks that he puts in there. So at the intro there, and a pattern that is looped throughout the tune, is hammer on. So we start with a bar at the 7th fret, first finger, hammer on your 2nd finger onto the B string. Oh man, it's blowing up, I'll tell you. 3rd finger hammering on the D string from the 5th to the 7th to the 9th. Then he reaches up, plays the flat 7th of the chord, so the D note up on the 10th fret of the E string there. Then does a similar hammer on, so with the same little finger, same fret, but on the B string, quicker. So that's from the 8th to the 10th to the B7 chord. Now it sounds to me, it's very hard to hear in the mix, but it sounds to me like I can only really hear those top 4 strings in the B7 chord there. So the next lick is a keyboard lick. So you could just play the C major 7 chord, play some notes out of that, but I've worked out a little way to do that, that keyboard lick. So to make it sound like the keyboard, I think hammering on from the D, open D to the 9th fret, and then going back to the A note at the 5th fret on the D string, while playing the E note, 9th fret, 8th fret, G note, 7th fret, B note. So those notes, and reaching over the top with the thumb. So it's like a C, it's got a major 7 and a 6 in there. So that'd be like that. But then as I was playing it before for the opening, I realized instead of hammering, I could just use picking fingers, play the open D, the open B instead of hammering. And I got that a little bit cleaner. Then the little, if you listen closely to that, the slides are different each time. And I reckon he's doing it up here. It was certainly easier for me to do it up here, because if I do it here, which sounded like the logical position, for a start the tonality sounded a bit too twangy, and also ending that slide back down at the 3rd fret and having to get back up to the 7 to start the riff again is quite a leap, whereas that way it's not so bad because we're only a couple, 3 frets away from where we want to be. So anyway, the 2 slides are different. The first one, I'm playing the E note, or 14th fret on the 2 middle strings, hammering onto the 16th fret on the G string, and then little finger up to a C note, so what's that, 14th, 16th, 17th fret, slide off, and then the same hammer, but this time it's a quite definite slide. He slides from the 16th to the 12th, so a B note to a G note, or a major 7 to a 5 in the chord. And the first note, he slides to nowhere. It just goes, it's just a quick little release from that note. But the second one, you can hear that. Ooh, if I land on the right fret, then back into it. And there's another lick throughout the song, which is right on the last beat before the song goes back to the 1 chord or the next section. And it's just the C note to the B note, 8th, 7th frets. Another little lick in this thing that's really cool is just before the main vocals start, before the if I got one thing right. So before he comes in with that line, the band stops and there's a typical little neo-soul sort of trill. Sounds like, I'm pretty sure that's what it is, but it's got a lot of effects on it. And the next part is, so anyway, 7, 8, 7, which is a G chord or E minor 7. Little hammer on to the 10th fret, and then a quick hammer on. So 5, 5, 5 on the lower 3 strings up to the 7th, and then that bass note comes in, but the melody, if it's guitar, maybe keyboard that's doing that lick, it's just like that. So it's after that C chord. If I got one thing right, whatever the chord is, that's that part. The next cool little bit that stuck out to me is in the next verse where the band kind of stops and it's like, I'm running out of options. So that is 12, 12, 12, 15 on the B string. So it's, again, you can think of it as a G chord or an E minor 7 chord. Running out of options, the B7 standard shape, and then that little, so it's a hammer from the 5th on the D string to the 7th, and then a quick slide up and back to the, pretty sure it's to the 7th. It actually sounds like a keyboard, but could be guitar. It's a very guitar-y lick. I'm sure it goes up to the B note and back, and then pulls off back to the 5, but I actually like the sound better just going to the 8th fret, because that's not in the key that we're in. So things like that always stick out to my ear as sounding a little bit funky, like I'm running out of options. Sounds great. And then I mean, you know, forgive me, I'm trying to just use my ear and play something that sounds as close to the recording as possible. So no idea how this bit was really done and which is keys and which is guitar or whatever. It sounds like a C6 like that. So that's 8, 10, skip a string, 9, 10. So you sweep across the chord down to the B string, take the other fingers off, or you know, release the pressure so that you've only got the B string ringing. Slide to 12 and back, and then 8th fret, 9th fret on the B and G, so G, E. And I slide off that with the vocal. The vocal follows that line, whatever, I can't remember what he says there. Now another thing that's really cool about this arrangement is there's 3 chords, but the bass line changes, giving the impression that we've got more chords at play here. So yeah, it's the E minor 7, the B7 to like the C major 7, but that C major 7 becomes at different times an A minor 9 because the bass goes to an A note, and sometimes it goes up to a D note, which makes it like a D11. So I love my theory. If you think of a C major 7, everyone knows that shape, 10, 9, 8, 7, which is 1, 3, 5 major 7. Now if you put an A bass note on that, that is an A minor 9. So that's 1 flat third, that's your minor, 5 flat 7 and 9. So in other words, if the bass player changes the note and you're playing that same chord, you've got a different chord now. And the same thing, if you take that bass note up to a D there, that's a D11 chord, or a D13 actually. So there's your root note that the bass guitarist is playing, flat 7, 9, 11, 13. And what happens then is that the bass then starts the pattern on a G instead of an E minor. So you'll notice that if I got one thing right, I don't know the song well enough, but so that second time I was playing a G chord instead of the E minor 7, because E minor 7 is just a G over an E bass. So if the bass player changes to a G and you're still playing that chord, you've got a G. It's got an E in it, but that could just make it a G6. So if you were going to play this solo, the first time you're going, so you've got that pattern. Now what do you do when you get to the G and you want to keep that pattern going? I guess you could try and There you go. There's a challenge. So that's doing that, but I'm playing it here as a D chord and hammering on to a G shape. So 4, 3, 3 from 2, 3, 2, and holding the bass note with my thumb. Sounds a bit messy. That works. Yeah. So I might die. There's one more bit that I picked out in listening to the song that I thought sounded really cool. So it's like a breakdown about 3/4 of the way through where it's like, so I might die, which sounds great. So the way I would play that is 12, 12, 12 on E, D, and B. So yeah, 12, skip, 12, skip, 12. Then B7. So there's 4 notes in that chord. He's playing 7, 9, skip a string, 8, 10. Then his favourite major 7 voicing, the C major 7 there, 8, 10, 9, 12. It does sound great. And then he's got that cool lick in there. I think that would be the way I'd probably play it. So I'm picking the 12th fret, the B note, which is your major 7, 10th fret on the A string, then 9th fret on the G string, then sliding that little finger back to the 10th fret. My fingers are all squashed up there, it's hard to see. And picking the 9th fret E note again. So I might die. Then the second time, getting back to what I was saying about the bass playing the G the second time around, he actually changes his chord. So these 2 notes stay the same, but instead of our root note being there at the 12th fret, it's now 10th fret on the A string. The rest is the same. Sustains the chord, then it does that whole pattern again. So if you haven't hit like or subscribe yet, please do so now. Thanks guys, and hit me with some more requests. I love it.